Thank you. That we are recording today's session. So just to make everybody aware of that, that's because we had lots of interest in this session today, and there were some people that couldn't make it. So we're going to send them the recording afterwards. Really great to have you here. Today's taster session basically is going to do hopefully a couple of things. Number one is to outline the sort of purpose and the structure of our new programme, which is obviously aimed at relatively new entrants into the utilities sector as part of our overall development programme. We said meet the trainers, just me. I'm one of the trainers. Our other trainer, Juliet, couldn't make it this morning, but hopefully it'll give you a little bit of a flavour of how the sessions will run when we launch this. And as I've already said to those of you that had joined, we'd love to see cameras on. We want this to be an interactive session. So please do join in with, use the chat if you want to give any feedback or if you want to ask any questions, and we will pose some questions to you as you go. I think we've got a mixture of people here today that either are early in careers or are keen to learn more about that programme. So we'll try and tick the boxes for both audiences as we go through. So we're going to be thinking about careers, a very small snapshot around where you are in your career and where you want to grow. So we'll work through a model about that shortly. We're going to pick up on a real taster of a practical confidence boosting tool as well that hopefully you can take away, and allows you obviously to connect with others that are potentially on similar stages of the journey or similar stages of learning and start to build a network. It's one of the things that we're obviously particularly keen on at Women's Utilities Network. So for more on who WUN are, I'm going to hand over to Karen.
So everyone, thanks for joining us this morning. My name's Karen Anderson and I'm the Programme Development Manager here at WUN. So Helen and I are the two employees of WUN. So everyone else that works with us are volunteers, and they make up our amazing group of advocates and our board. So yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of an overview of WUN and the whole Arrive programme, and then hand back to Sarah, who will talk you through some of those tools and take you through some of the sample from the Arrive programme. So, as you all know, the utilities sector still has a long way to go when it comes to diversity, and women are often underrepresented, particularly in senior leadership roles, and that's exactly why WUN was created back in 2018 by a group of like-minded women who work and still do work in the sector, but shared a common goal to create a very much more inclusive sector where women can join, stay and thrive, and that is still WUN's mantra today. The founders were really passionate, not just about the industry itself, but also about the value that women were already bringing and the greater contribution that they could reach. We fast forward 6 years to today, and here we are. WUN has grown into a thriving community of more than 10,000 members and followers and over 80 industry partners. And we bring women together and allies together through a wide range of different activities, from virtual and in-person events. We have a really great mentoring programme with over 400 mentees. We have a website full of a host of different resources, including podcasts and blogs. And more recently, we've started to do industry surveys and research. All of that is designed to support women in the utilities sector at every stage of their career journey. It's completely free to be an individual member of WUN, and if you aren't already, there's a QR code there in the corner of the screen which will take you through to our website, where a lot of those resources I mentioned are, but also our membership form is on there. So WUN framework. So after listening to feedback from our members and our partners and from the survey results over recent years, it was clear that women in utilities wanted something more, development opportunities that were really truly reflective of their experiences and the challenges that women face within the sector. So at WUN, we created a series of bespoke programmes designed specifically for themselves, a suite of different options aimed at women at different stages of their career. And these programmes don't just build individual skills, they're about creating new networks, as Sarah just said, across the sector. And it's really important for us as an organisation to connect women and allies who are passionate about making a difference. And most importantly, by taking part in our development programmes, you're not just investing in your own growth, you're also becoming part of that wider change happening across the utilities in terms of diversity and inclusion. So we spoke all around WUN Arrive, our newest development programme in the development framework, designed as a launch pad specifically for women in their early careers in utilities. And when we say early careers, we're probably talking within the first 1 to 5 years. So WUN Arrive is all about helping you build confidence, connection, and really career clarity from the very start. We're hoping to give attendees the self-awareness and a really great support network in order to help them thrive in this industry. It also forms part of our wider suite of WUN development programmes. So it links with WUN Drive, which is our programme designed to support women stepping into their first line management role, and also WUN Thrive, which is our programme designed for senior leaders who are looking for greater impact and influence within their roles. So the WUN Drive is a full one-day session. It's a really energising and practical experience, starting with a warm welcome and introduction, and then moving into growth mindset and self-reflection. And it's really equipping you with tools like one we'll look at today, the Wheel of Work, to help you think about where you are and where you want to grow. In the course of the day, we then drive into building confidence, learning how to move from that inner critic to that inner coach, and then picking up practical tools for meetings, for visibility, and for your own self-advocacy. The day also includes a confidence toolbox and a section on networking. And we've said a couple of times now how much we believe that networking is really important for helping you make real, meaningful connections across the industry. We'll also think about who's on your team, building your own personal network of board of advisors and creating a really strong circle around you to support you both inside and outside of work. And we'll also look at different sector opportunities, thinking about key industries and bodies and networks that will help you throughout your career, and then finish the day by helping you create a personal action plan to help you take everything forward when you leave. It's a really full, practical day, and it's designed to help give the attendees tools, confidence and connections to really thrive in your early career. Sarah, I'll just hand back to you.
Yeah, so let's get going on giving you guys a little bit of a taster. So something interactive first. So if you can all pull up your mobile phones, and if you enter menti.com as a website, we are going to create a word cloud. So if you literally log on via the internet to menti.com, use that code, and all we're asking you to do is to, in one word, describe how you currently feel about your career in the sector. So there'll be inevitably a variety of different people here for different reasons today. It doesn't matter, it's all anonymous. We're just really keen for you to contribute to our word cloud about how you currently feel about your career in the sector. So it'll take a minute or so for everybody to log on and do that. Lost, okay, thank you. Plateaued, uninspired, excited, jaded, busy, yeah, that's one that comes up a lot. Progress, stuck, frustrated, opportunity, directionless, stagnant. So opportunity and excited has come up a couple of times. I think in a traditional word cloud sense, the bigger the words, the more they've been used by people. So also we've got motivated, shy, okay. Really interesting. By all means, as we talk, just continue to add that. But I think that really does demonstrate some really good rationale for us doing what we do at WUN across the board, but also particularly for people in this group. So thinking about how do we sort of reconnect with some of those more positive words on there, like excited and motivated and progress and opportunity, and help people that maybe do feel more stuck or that they are stagnated. And that they're still learning or don't have direction to kind of reconnect with their purpose and think about how you can sort of focus on what's right for you in your career, and everybody will be different. It's really good when the technology works. So I'm really pleased that that word cloud has worked, and hopefully you a sense of some of the other people that are here today. Would anybody just quickly, like, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, like to come off mute and sort of say why they said what they did?
Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello, nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Juan. I'm the market assurance analyst from Mozo. So I didn't have the chance to log in at this website and to put in the word, but I do agree with most of the words. And I feel that most of the people in this session, we're having the same feelings about our career. So for now, I feel busy and lost for sure, because I feel most of the time I'm just basically doing my work instead of thinking a long term, like, so which status am I in my career and what should I do for me to proceed? So instead of doing that, I'm basically just to finish my work. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good explanation, I think, of how a lot of people feel in terms of head down, just cracking on and doing the job. And even hopefully by coming together for an hour today, it'll just allow a little bit of thinking time that you might not have the luxury of in your day-to-day role. So I hope that ticks a box for you. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else like to share? I'm going to say that's a no. That's fine, because we're going to move on anyway in terms of time. So that was just a little exercise to get us started. And now we're going to start to think about just what we talked about then, really, about how do we start to give you guys some time and space to think about yourselves for a change, because inevitably everybody's busy and everybody's got lots on. So thinking about you for a change. So we're going to just take a moment to think about where are you now in your career, and that will be different for each of you. There's literally no right or wrong answers here. And we are just going to do an individual reflection exercise, the mini wheel of work. In the full program, we will do a full wheel of work, but we didn't have a huge amount of time today. So what I'd like you to do, please, is to grab a piece of paper, a book, or whatever it is you use to make notes, and just draw yourself a little diagram like the one on the screen. So it needs to be a circle, preferably a circle because it's a wheel, a circle divided into 4 and with space to write 4 labels on the outside. And then if you could use those 4 labels that I've put in the box there around in the grey bits that are on our diagram. So one would read confidence, one would read visibility, one would read networking, and the other one would read career direction. I'll just give you a minute just to do that. Okay, I'm seeing people making eye contact with me again, so that's hopefully a good sign. So once you've drawn your mini wheel of work, and look, I do recognise that there are lots of other things you might want to consider, but we thought we'd focus in on these today because these tend to be things that people in their early careers are, wanting to focus on, and women in particular. So what I'd like you now to do is end up with a bit of a spider web, so that you kind of draw a line in each segment. Put my teeth in. Draw a line in each segment and rate each segment on a score of 1 to 5. So the center point of the circle being a 1 and the outer edge of it being a 5 out of 5, based on where you feel you are right now. So for example, if you feel like you're really lacking in confidence, you might score that a 2 out of 5. So that would obviously be about a third of the way up the circle. You might feel that visibility is actually going really well for you right now, and that might be a 4. So you'd end up with a little sort of mini spider's web, if you like. So again, I'll give you a minute to think about that. And we're really focusing in on where are you in your career right now? Where are you in your career with those things right now? I can see lots of serious thinking faces, which is good. So once you've done that, I'd just like you to take a moment to have a look at your wheel and think about what's going well for you in relation to that. So what ones do you think, yeah, I'm happy with that? And then on the flip side, what could use a little more attention? So really think about what's going well and what could use a little bit more focus or attention time, if indeed you have it. And then the final bit of this exercise is just to think about, given the short amount of time I'm asking you to focus on this today, what's the one thing that you could do to make a step towards making that wheel feel more balanced for you, or whatever it is that you would like to achieve based on looking at those aspects of confidence, visibility, networking, and career direction. And then I would really encourage some of you to share those actions in the chat, please. Thank you for those of you that have started to do that. I'm just going to open up the chat. The self-advocacy, Daisy, so speaking up more. Yeah, look, and I guess that's a real theme that we have at WUN. I don't know how many of you have attended WUN events previously, but we are really focusing on how we support women to have the confidence to speak up and speak up for themselves in the name of self-advocacy, but also speaking up for others as well. So we've got an event coming up, and Karen will have to remind me, I think it might be December, which is really focused on this for individuals. Career direction. So Kath, thank you for that. So career direction, not sure if it's because I'm happy where I am. I'm older, so I want to think about what I want to do next. Yeah, and look, that's, again, thinking just, I suppose, back to the point from earlier, really thinking about what is it that you want to do next, if at all anything, because actually it's okay to be satisfied and happy with where you are. So that's something that just needs a little bit of time and focus, I think. And when we do this in the wider Arrive programme, what we'll be doing is actually pairing people up to have a mini coaching conversation about these things, to really explore some of those areas that people focus on in the wider wheel of work, and to really, I suppose, have a coaching conversation to explore some of those options and to think about what other actions might be appropriate. So Abby has said about 10 more networking opportunities, and discuss those at monthly employee meetings, which would give me more visibility in the workplace. Yeah, so that idea of kind of going out, bringing in some learning and bringing that back to the organisation. And definitely network is something, as Karen has said, we're going to be focusing on in the wider Arrive programme. And what we'll be thinking about is two of the aspects of networking. Firstly, how do we maximise the opportunities of networking internally? Because when we are early in our careers, that might be something that's more immediate and more of a challenge. And then actually, how do we overcome this sometimes terrifying idea of networking? It's not something I enjoy still. I've worked in the utility sector for 26 years, and it's still something that really does fill me with dread, the idea of networking. So how do we reframe networking and think about it in a more positive way, and think about what we bring to networking as well as what we need from it? More self-belief, yeah, definitely. Thanks, Karen, for linking the events on the website. Yeah, so an event on speaking up in September. So lots of things that are coming out there in terms of the action. So thank you for those of you that were brave enough to share them. It's really helpful, I think, for other people to understand what's going on for other people. And it's definitely demonstrates the need for thinking about our own development and what we might need to do. And I think my one suggestion for you guys as a result of this very light touch exercise today is to not become overwhelmed with thinking about how things are going for you at work or in your development right now, and to really focus on breaking it down into individual actionable steps. So that's what we'll focus on in the wider Arrive programme as well. I've seen some other people, I'm not going to keep going through all of them, but obviously you can all read them and share. Additionally, when we do the fuller wheel of work, we'll be exploring more aspects of work, but we'll also be taking a future look. So I've just asked you on this snapshot exercise today to do at a point in time now, where are you? We'll also start to think in those coaching conversations, what would good look like? Recognizing we can't be a 5 out of 5 on everything because we've only got so many hours in the day and so much headspace alongside all the other things that we need to do in work and in life. But we will take a view about actually where are we now, and then where would we like to be? What would good look like for us, and how do we make those small steps towards what good would look like? I would just encourage you from today to have a think about that more broadly and potentially revisit it from time to time. You might want to do it as part of a development review with a manager, for example, or as part of a team exercise, or even do it with members of your own team if you've got people that are reporting into you right now. And just coming back to this from time to time can really sort of demonstrate what's going on, what's important, and what are the next steps. It might help in some of those development conversations that people that do sometimes feel that are quite challenging. So does anybody want to come off mute and share anything verbally on that, or has anybody got any questions? Okay, so we will move on to our next little taster. So we've started to think about self-belief and confidence in a lot of those actions. So we're just going to introduce another little technique to you. And it's the idea of thinking about when we're speaking, or when we're in meetings, or when we have to give a presentation, or when we're communicating with people in any way, shape or form that is relevant for your role. How do we start to think about building confidence? Now, again, as Karen went through for the Full Arrive programme, we're going to spend quite a lot of time on kind of moving that inner critic to an inner coach. So we haven't got time to get into all of that today, but we are going to just give you a little tool, and then we're going to put you into some breakout rooms. Please don't be scared about that. We're not putting anybody on the spot. It's a safe environment, and we're just going to give you the opportunity, rather than listening to me for the next half an hour, to share your own thoughts with other members in this group. So if we can move on the next slide, please. Sorry, I was trying to click and I realized that I'm not driving it. So I don't know how many of you have heard of words, music and dance as a concept when we come to communication and confidence. But it's quite simple, and I'm not going to make anyone dance. And I did promise that I was going to come back to music later, and this is what I meant. There's no singing and there's no dancing, definitely not. That would certainly be outside of my comfort zone at this time of day without a karaoke microphone and a glass of wine in my hand, so we're definitely not going to be doing that. But if we think about this concept, it's really quite straightforward, I suppose, when we think about communications, the impact that we have, and the confidence that we can display. So when we think about words, clearly, I think that's the obvious bit, isn't it? So when I'm communicating to you now, you're hopefully listening to the words that I'm saying and not answering emails or anything like that. So you're hearing the words that I'm saying. But when we think about the words that we're saying, it's really important because that's our content, isn't it? But we're thinking about, are we being clear and are we being purposeful? So I might have a really good idea that I want to communicate, but I need to also think about it from my audience's perspective, and whether that's one individual person that I'm speaking to, or whether indeed it's a conference hall full of people. So am I really purposefully considering the language that I'm using and the way that I'm communicating, the words that I'm using to describe my concept and my idea, or my the thing I'm trying to influence somebody on, in order that that lands in the way that I intend it. So are you clear and are you purposeful? Music is about how you say it. So we're thinking about the tone, the way that you kind of deliver what you're saying, the pace that you speak at, and the volume that you speak at as well. So that is what we're talking about when it comes to music. And when we talk about dance, we're talking about body language. I'm very aware that I cannot help myself but talk with my hands. I just do it all the time. It's just something I'm aware of. But actually, sometimes that's annoying and sometimes it just adds to the passion behind you. So you're thinking about how you're standing, how you're sitting, the gestures that you make, and the presence that you create through your words, music, and dance. And what's really interesting, and what people don't necessarily always know, is actually only 7% of communication comes from the words that you say. And there's a whole day of training on how you do presentation skills, but there's just something we can do in terms of thinking beyond the words that we are speaking. I know I'm my own worst enemy in this. For example, I'm preparing to speak at a conference next week, and what am I doing at the moment? Really trying to refine the words that I'm going to use, when I know that I will go off script on the day, and what's much more important is my music and dance. So music actually takes is 37% of the impact when you're speaking, and therefore dance is 55%. So if we really think about words as only being really small part of when we communicate and how we develop our confidence. So I'm going to just give you a little demonstration of this, and then what we're going to ask you to do in your groups is to think about, what is it that might get in your way? So you might be really confident in terms of words. You might be, a words person like I am, as opposed to a numbers person like other people are. But actually, you really struggle with, sort of varying your tone and your pace and your volume, and that might have got in your way. You might have had feedback on that before. So what we're going to be looking for you to do after the short demonstration is actually thinking about what is it that might get in your way, and give the opportunity to learn from each other as well. So here we go. Oh, I'm not an actor, but I just turned my screen off as I moved my laptop. So this is really outside of my comfort zone. So version 1 is, I'm in a meeting, so that's the context. So I would come into the meeting and be like, hi, I'm Sarah. I work in asset management. I've only been in the role a few months, so I'm not really a technical expert or anything. So I'm just an asset support officer. So I'm just here to observe the meeting today, really. So in that version, I downplayed my role. I spoke really quickly. Hopefully I came across sounding hesitant and unsure, and I used quite hesitant language. So yeah, absolutely qualify, say I'm only this, I'm just that, absolutely. And that's what I was aiming for, so that's good. So when we come across like that, I've heard that so many times, I'm only an admin assistant, I'm just an admin assistant. Actually, we're downplaying our role, and that self-advocacy point comes back in there, doesn't it? So absolutely, that was what I was aiming for. So thank you, Kath, for that feedback. Version 2, I'm going to try and do it differently. So, hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm part of the asset management team here. I'm currently working as an asset support officer. I'm focused on data-led risk modelling across our gas infrastructure. And I'm still fairly new to the role, but I'm really keen to learn and contribute today. I'm really keen to hear from all of you and to hear how you're tackling similar challenges. So really looking forward to today's meeting. I know I speak fast anyway, so I can't help that. That's just me. But hopefully there was no onlys in there. There was no justs. And I'm using clearer words to give a sense of what it is I'm doing, what I'm interested in, and what I'm there to learn. And I didn't use the word only and just. Hopefully I came across as more calm and confident. As I say, I'm no actress. So I just did my best. And how I sort of held myself, how I spoke more confidently were just some small shifts, only some small shifts. But hopefully they would give you an example of how actually I might be received or perceived in a meeting slightly differently. And not only that, it's not necessarily just about how we come across to other people, but it's how we feel within ourselves as well. And I had a coachee once who just used a really simple tip. And these are the sorts of things we're going to look for you to share in the breakout sessions. And she would really struggle to go into a meeting when she was asked a question and felt like she would just really very much revert to type and speak quickly and stumble and really feel unconfident. So through coaching, she decided that her one small action was when she was asked a question to take a sip of a drink just while she got her headspace in the right space and thought through what she was going to say next. So that really helped her. It wouldn't work for all of you, of course, and I'm sure you've got your own tools and techniques. But what we'll be doing in Arrive is really thinking about how do we build up the confidence to do, practical things like that, as well as to silence that inner critic through some activities that would include things like words, music, and dance. So this is what we want you to do. It's on the next slide, I think. I want you to think about your own words, music, and dance. It's not on the next slide, that's fine. It is on the next slide. We want you to think about your own words, music, and dance. So you'll all have different views. You'll all have things that you're more confident at and things that you might find more scary, or just things that you stumble over. So I'd like to think about particularly where you don't feel comfortable and confident. We all have scenarios, whether it's with our mates or with our partners or with our teammates, that where we feel confident and these things wouldn't necessarily get in the way. We probably wouldn't even give them a second thought. So think about a scenario, whether it be a meeting, a presentation, a conference, meeting new people, networking, where those things might start to get in your way. And what I'd like you to do is we set up the groups. We'll put you in a group with a few other people, and just for a few of you to share maybe an example of where these things get in your way, and for you to just to share some ideas with each other. Maybe it's about how you could tweak one element of your words, music, and dance to build your confidence and impact. Just an opportunity for you to share ideas and thoughts. So we're going to give you just 10 minutes to have that confidence, just over 10 minutes to have a think about that and a chat about it. And then we'd love you to share some of your practical ideas and tips when you come back, either back to the group verbally or in the chat to share your ideas. So we're going to send, hopefully by the magic of Zoom, we're going to send you off into a working groups now, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome back. So as we wait for everybody else to rejoin us, if you've got any hints and tips or little things that came out of your conversations, pop them in the chat for us. That'd be great. As everybody arrives, hints and tips in the chat. Let's make the most of our time together and share what we can. I think we've got most people back now. So anybody that's just arriving back, please just add your hints and tips and things you came up with in your groups in the chat so we can share them with everybody. But would somebody like to come off mute and give us a flavour of your conversation?
We can for our group,
Great.
if it's
Thank
helpful.
you. Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
We had quite similar things come up between us in terms of the music. It was talking quickly, came up quite a lot, and having to kind of taper ourselves with that, remind ourselves to speak rhythmically and slowly. We also had a consistent thing with feeling the need to feel prepared in terms of knowledge. So the words side of it, a few of us kind of referenced feeling like we needed to be the most knowledgeable person in order to feel like we were allowed to say more.
Yes.
And we got good pointers in there in terms of like being comfortable with other people knowing more, getting to a comfort level with that, but also preparing yourself effectively before time. Someone mentioned having like post-it notes around the outside of their screen, rehearsing as well. And another kind of mentioned having a little mini Boudica figurine on top of their laptop, which meant that they were then speaking to quite a I guess fiery character rather than just staring at a camera. And then on the opposite side, as a listener and an audience member, kind of doing active listening, smiling, nodding, and being engaged as well.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing discussion. Thank you. Some amazing hints and tips in there. I think, yeah, and that's exactly the power of getting a group of people together to share some of those things. And the point that, I mean, I know I mentioned it, but I know I speak quickly as well. And that's something I need to work with. And that's often because I get kind of passionate about things. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But I don't know whether any of you have seen the Simon Sinek video where he talks ridiculously slowly and it really sounds impactful. It doesn't sound really slowly at all, because as a listener, you really are able to focus and understand. So I know that feels really awkward for me to do, but when he demonstrates, he does it much better than me, obviously. But actually, you know, it shows how you can really focus on the words. And so you almost can't speak too slowly is the method, the message that he gives. So anybody else like to just come off quickly? Any final hints and tips? I can see some brilliant ones in the chat. I'm not going to go through those now because you can all read those for yourself. Anybody else want to share a little tidbit or anything that came up for them?
I think it's just the point that you mentioned about talking. It just came to my mind as you were sort of saying it around fast and slow. One of the things that I think about when someone is talking, that if they're talking fast, it seems like they know what they're saying and that they've got all of those words, and yeah, that they just seem more confident. I think that's just a bit of the flip side for me. That when someone does sort of have a fast speed, it's like, okay, they've got all of these ideas and they've got a really great mind and they know what they're talking about. So yeah, I think that's just me that thinks like that maybe.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I'm also Welsh. And yeah, so the Welsh and Scottish amongst us believe that we have the fast talking or the same fast talking. So great. Thanks for the two of you that came off mute and shared there. Keep sharing in there. And I'm going to hand back to Karen. So thank you for your insights there, and clearly more of that on the Arrive programme as we get going with it. Karen, back to you.
Thanks, Sarah. So we're coming to the end of this. I'd like to, if you all just take a moment to reflect on perhaps what's resonated most with you today, and potentially think about one simple action you can take over the next week or so, something that will help you put what you've learnt into practice. It might be around a confidence habit, a networking step, or even a mindset shift. So if you've got something you want to share, again, just pop it in the chat to keep everyone inspired as they go away today. And as we said at the beginning of the session, today really has just been a snapshot of what the full WUN Arrive programme offers. As we said earlier, it's a one-day in-house experience created to provide a really safe space, an energising space, a practical space for early career women in utilities to really grow. We're going to be delivering it within organisations, but we're also exploring opportunities potentially for shared sessions, depending on the interest, size of organisation and location. If you'd like to learn more about the sessions or register your interest for an organisation, I'll pop my contact details and the Arrive flyer in the chat. And I think Sarah said earlier, we really value your feedback as well on this taster session, and any ideas you've got about topics you'd like to see included for early women, either in the full programme or perhaps things that you'd like to see WUN provide in the future. Again, pop them in the chat or use the QR code that was on the screen there with some feedback, which has got a feedback form in there. And I'll put a link to that in the chat. Really, I just want to say thank you so much for coming along today, for being part of today's taster session. We really hope you'll continue your journey with WUN, explore our events, our programmes and different ways to connect across the community we have of women and allies in utilities. As I've said previously, you can find all of our events and resources on our website, www.thewun.co.uk. Or find us on LinkedIn and give us a follow. So I've just put my details in the chat. Hopefully you can see that there. And I'll also add a flyer for the WUN Arrive programme in the chat too. But if you've got any questions, please get in touch, pop it in the feedback in the comments. But thank you for your time and your attention today.
Thanks everyone. It was lovely to spend this hour with you.